Don't forget to turn your mics back on. Is there more chairs? I don't want them to sit. I mean, they're not sitting in the seats that we have, I guess. But I don't want anyone to sit on the floor. Yeah. I mean, I'll forgive you for leaving us, but, you know. What is that? We gotta do the public hearing first, right? So.
I'm waiting for Jane's using the restroom.
Oh, okay, but I mean, I'm assuming most of the people are here for Old Creamery. I'll add that to my list of really highly contentious topics to talk about, like village zoning district, driveway easement, chickens.
So, good evening, folks. I'm going to call the meeting back to order. So, folks, I'm going to call the meeting back to order. We were in executive session, and for the record, we are back. Executive session ended at 7:10. No substantive decisions were made. Getting on to the next item on the agenda, it would be the minutes from March 17, 2026. Is there a motion?
Move to approve, subject to modification.
Is there a second?
Second.
Going through the minutes, page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Hearing no modifications, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There are no nays. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next is public comment. This would be a moment for people to speak. It could be on anything, but if there is a item coming up on the agenda, you may wish to wait, but you don't have to. But if you do speak, I would ask you please identify yourself clearly and limit yourself to 2 minutes. Is there anybody in the room who wishes to make a public comment? Sure.
Should I wait till later?
Wait till the bylaw hearing?
Yeah.
We could do it then.
Okay.
Up to you.
Sorry.
Okay. So.
Bylaw comment.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I guess that was the only thing. Okay. Eric, is there anybody online?
No one online. I shouldn't speak now.
Okay. So next on the agenda would be a public hearing that we had scheduled for 7:05. We're only 10 minutes late on that. So under the statute, I have to begin the hearing by saying the following. The Williston Selectboard will hold a public hearing to receive comment on proposed changes to the existing Williston Unified Development Bylaw. The public hearing will take place on Tuesday, April 7, 2026 at 7:05 in the Beckett McGuire Meeting Room at the Williston Town Hall, located at 7900 Williston Road, with remote participation available by Zoom. And so with that, I will declare that the public hearing is open. And my understanding, we're going to have a brief summary or presentation and go from there.
Yes, thank you. And Eric, if you could promote me to panelist at some point, while we talk through some of the changes, I'll display pictures of the proposed edits as needed.
And you're planning and zoning?
Yes.
Logged in as? Okay.
So this is a public hearing to consider proposed changes to Williston's Unified Development Bylaw. It's zoning and subdivision regulations. The changes, as described in the overall memorandum to the Select Board tonight, are follow-up changes from the adoption of the new comprehensive plan by the town in August of 2025. So whenever the new comprehensive plan is adopted, there are a lot of things in zoning that provide citation back to that plan because the zoning is meant to implement the plan, and all of them need to be corrected and updated, and in some cases altered a little bit to align with the new adopted comprehensive plan. So that was the occasion for the planning staff and planning commission working on this proposed set of amendments before you tonight. As often happens when we begin discussing changes to the zoning bylaws, we have other changes that make sense to bring forward at the same time, bring it through the same hearing process, and the memorandum describes a little bit of that for you as well, and I'll go through a couple of those for you and just do that very briefly, and then we can get into the details of a few of them that there's been some public comment and interest on of late. We can talk about the procedural things that might happen should the Select Board want to change anything that the Planning Commission's given to you to look at tonight, and what the process is going forward. So, as I mentioned, the main occasion for doing this bylaw amendment had to do with fixing citations and connecting it to the new town plan. The memorandum identifies a whole bunch of chapters where the only thing that is happening is a change in that citation. There's no change to what the rules are. There's no change to what they mean. There's just new language in the town plan that the bylaw needs to point to. Then we get into some of the actual changes where the rules are changing in this draft, and I'll just identify those briefly, read them off. We have a change related to off-street parking and loading, clarifying there's a provision for the use of structured parking and solar canopies as a way that someone developing a site can increase the allowed number of spaces. In other words, if you use those things, you can have more parking spaces than the bylaw would otherwise allow. We have some language about neighborhood parks, just some clarifying language about what the requirements are when a development is providing a neighborhood park. We did a bunch of work, and Emily can speak to this better than I can because she's the one who did it, around setbacks. And what we wanted to do was have one place in the bylaw that identified all of the required setbacks across the different zoning districts. So we did that. No setbacks functionally really changed, just merging them and addressing one issue, which is when there's a corner lot, whether there would be 2 front yards applied to that lot or not. And what the bylaw does is it allows one to be selected as the front yard and one to be treated as a side yard, which was practice anyway. In the village, noting that signs are exempt from the certificate of appropriateness, that's the historic process. There are specific design standards for signs in the village, and as long as they meet those, they are understood as being compliant with the requirements in the historic village. We made some amendments to the way the procedural discussion happens around Development Review Board review, and particularly the pre-application process. In particular, because of some of the studies related to wildlife habitat impact that need to happen between pre-application and the next stage of review, discretionary permit, we needed a little more language in the zoning bylaw that would help applicants understand some of the homework they would need to go do between those 2 important steps of the development review process. There's a small amendment to the written notification requirements. There was a notification requirement in the bylaw that we tried out for a couple of bylaw cycles about notifying all of the tenants of a property as well as owners. That was found to really just be functionally very difficult for applicants and the staff to manage. So we've gone back to a more standard owner notification there as required by state law. A change to guarantees for public and private improvements. So this is the bond that a developer has to post to back up the promise they've made to build certain things that are required by their conditions of approval. This can be parking, landscaping, public or private infrastructure like streets and utility lines, et cetera. The big change here is that all of those would require bonding at 110% of their estimated cost of construction. What we're moving from was public improvements, things that would eventually come in or could come into the ownership of the town, like a street, were required at 110%, but private improvements were required at 10%. It was a much smaller cash bond on those. And the numbers are different, so the incentive is a little different. And we want to make sure that, you know, in a world where many streets are constructed as private streets and we have really stringent landscaping requirements, that those kinds of private improvements are given the same attention and enforcement as the ones that might come into public ownership by the town. Affordable housing income limits. This one, I think we went through when we introduced it. It does take a little bit of explaining. When Williston made its major reforms to its inclusionary zoning, you know, requiring the inclusion of affordable dwellings in most residential projects, we do that as measured as affordability for a household making a certain percentage of the area median income, either 80% or 100%. So you can calculate the price limit, the rent limit, or the sales price limit of a dwelling based on those numbers and come up with that. Then there's part of our zoning bylaw that was new that said we also want to make sure that the person buying or renting that unit is making that modest income. In other words, they're not very wealthy and buying an affordable unit. The current bylaw sets those numbers the same. So it says an apartment that is restricted to be rented at no more than 80% of the area median income must be rented to a person making no more than 80% of the area median income. The proposal is to raise that to 100%. And the reason is, if you set those limits exactly the same, there's only one perfect person making the perfect income who can actually afford that apartment. They have to be making exactly 80% of the area median income. If they're making anything less than that, the 80% AMI apartment is not affordable to them. And so too for 100%, where the income limit is proposed to be raised to 120. So this still allows a household of modest means to rent one of those restricted price or rent apartments or buy one of those homes, but you're allowing some families in the door that are making enough money to actually have that unit be affordable for them, meaning it costs them no more than 30% of their income to support their housing costs. Lastly, in Chapter 11, the growth management chapter, there's, sorry, not lastly, but there's some just change to the language about the growth limits and growth targets as we find ourselves in a world where the state of Vermont is asking us to achieve growth targets. We wanted to bring that language into the chapter. There's no functional change in how growth management and its balance with inclusionary zoning plays out in Chapter 11. It's really just a change to the language. We have some proposed changes to driveway width standards. You're going to hear more about this later tonight through public comment, some explanation from Emily, who's been staffing some projects where this is consequential. The thing to know is that in the current adopted bylaw, there's a residential driveway standard requiring 12 to 14 feet of driveway width, and that's it. Prior to tonight's hearing, in a couple of bylaw amendments ago, we had some other changes related to housing, allowing, for example, instead of no more than 5 homes on a private driveway, up to 9. And we were starting to see a handful of those infill projects come through with more than 5 units on the driveway. Comments from the fire department looking for more of a 20-foot width, a fire lane type width for that number of units on a driveway. So what's before you, what was transmitted to you by the Planning Commission, has a graduated table replacing that 12 to 14 foot statement that basically says the more you're doing, the wider the driveway needs to be. And it tops out with a standard for mixed use projects where there's both commercial and residential traffic on the driveway at the widest level. So that's the table as you see it. We'll get into the discussion of possible changes that might be made to that, some things that our project reviews have revealed recently in a minute. And now actually, lastly, discussion of transfer of development rights. Transfer of development rights is pretty rarely used in Williston, but we wanted to simplify that language a little bit and note that if somebody was conserving land in the agricultural rural residential zoning district, so we're south of I-89, north of Mountain View Road, where they're not going to build units that zoning gives them a right to build, those dwelling units can be transferred to any other zoning district that allows residential uses, so any of our other non-industrial zoning districts. And it just makes that really clear and really simple compared to what we had before. So as we're talking through these, I can bring up the actual strike through on the screen, the comment memos or the transfer memo I was just reading from as it helps. But I want to leave it there. The select board has had communication from a couple of parties related to possible changes to the driveway standard, changes that the planning staff, after experiencing some reviews, said, this table's great, but maybe the DRB should have a little bit of flexibility here and be able to be a little bit context sensitive, particularly in the village zoning district where infill development and mixed use is encouraged, but lots are small and things are kind of tight, and sometimes a more custom solution might be warranted. So that flexibility is not in the draft transmitted to you by the Planning Commission. It is something that Emily wrote up a memo to you about explaining how that might work. If the select board were to choose to move forward with that change, state law says we need to take this proposal back to the Planning Commission for them to discuss that and correct the bylaw report, which is the document they give you that says here are some bylaw changes. And a follow-up public hearing would need to be held by the select board before this would be adopted. So you either adopt what the Planning Commission gives you, or you send it back to them and you hold another hearing and then you adopt that. It's not a vote by the Planning Commission on yes or no to that change, but they are given the opportunity to provide you with advice on it. And I'll stop there.
What's the board's pleasure? Should we ask if there are questions for Matt? We've kind of gone over this, or should we open it up to?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me turn it over to people who are here for the hearing.
By the way,
Anybody like to speak on the issues that are before us for the zoning bylaw change? Yep, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Parisi. I own 7997 Williston Road, which is just a couple houses down from here. The old Lampman House. It's also the location of our office building, Ridgeline Real Estate Company. I'm going to try to keep this relatively brief as I can. I'm a very small owner-operator developer, about as probably small in the state as you would find. My team does a couple houses a year, and generally speaking, it's on exactly these kind of lots, these small infill lots. I've done 12 of these homes in Winooski, one in Richmond, and some in St. Albans. In any case, when we started the planning of this project in October of 2025, we were in complete compliance of the existing regulations regarding driveway width. And we would actually still be within those regulations, except there needs to be a 4-foot clear span on either side of the driveway now. We have a 25-foot right-of-way on this property, so we'd be more than capable of supporting almost 3 lanes of traffic. An average car width is about 9 feet. So as you can see, it'd be almost 3 car widths wide. Even a fire truck could easily fit down that right-of-way once the road is expanded. 28 feet, given the current proposed amendments, would be basically undoable for my small project, specifically because my neighbors don't want me to build these houses. They don't want the infill development, and that's for them to, obviously, that's their opinion. But this is exactly what we're looking for. From a safety perspective, there will be 5 residential units on this property once there's done. Currently, there's 3. So we'd be under 9 for sure. I just think these newer amendments can really strangle very small developments on sites like this. Most of the lots in Williston are actually 1/3 acre lots if you look at in total, right? Especially with all the new development. So this is a half-acre lot, and we're looking to do a small planned unit development and add 2 small carriage homes. These would probably be the least expensive new construction market rate homes in the village, I would say, probably within the last 3 or 4 years even. They're going to be about 1,500 square feet, so they're not huge homes. I don't really think there's much more I have to add to this. Other than that, I think it would be a strangle on many small developments. If people were to have a half-acre lot like mine, which there must be hundreds of half-acre lots in Williston, these new standards could pose significant risk to the infill development that we're trying to do. We're obviously on town water and sewer. The property would maintain its historic front facade, basically meets all the other regulations architecturally, et cetera, other than this new proposed driveway width. So anyways, thank you for your time, and look forward to hearing a new result.
Great. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Tim Ross, and I live at 7999 Williston Road, which is behind the Lampman House. I won't get into the details, but I'm certainly not against more housing, but there are other problems associated with this development that have been brought forward and discussed with the DRB in the past. So this isn't just about stopping affordable housing. We're all for affordable housing, I believe. You know, these issues were open they were open to the public for comment when they were proposed. So everybody had a say, everybody spoke. Anybody of interest was able to voice their opposition or support at that time. So I would support moving these forward. The other thing I would just like to read from you briefly is a memo that my wife and I wrote. I believe you have it in your possession, but I just want to read an excerpt. From a planning perspective, standards exist to ensure consistency, safety, and functionality over time. The waiver provision provides standardless discretion to the DRB or zoning administrator to waive the required width at their whim, and would possibly lead to litigation over disparate treatment of projects by the town. Bylaws were not meant to be a la carte, changeable to suit the need of the developer. I appreciate your time and consideration.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name's Dan Boomhauer. We live at 4545 St. George Road. I wasn't planning to speak about this today, but you piqued my interest. Do you foresee transfer of developer rights to be an incentive to help people give up their conservation easements in the rural districts? Would they be able to be monetized in a way in the future? Back history, when we did Sunset Hill, when we created the 5 Tree Hill Park on the top, part of what was done was that transfer of development rights were used at that time, and a person was able to help with that project by being able to develop a piece of property off from one of the roads down near the Winooski River. And it was somehow part of the mix of all that. And so I was just wondering if that had been considered and if that would be a possibility in terms of the way you plan to write this bylaw.
So Transfer of development rights in Williston has typically worked as a private transaction. Sometimes the developer owns the land that's being conserved and is literally presenting the transfer as part of a single project. I'm going to conserve this land over here. I would like credit for the dwellings I'm not building there, and I'm going to build them over here on my development site. In other cases, we recently looked up records where a developer achieved the conservation of some rural land and received a decision from the Planning Commission at the time, it was before the DRB existed, saying, you have conserved this many dwelling units worth of land, and should you have a project in the future in another zoning district, you can spend them there. That developer recently asked us to see if we could dig that decision up from the early 1990s. We were able to find the record. And they had a development site in a zoning district that allows residential development where they could be able to spend those units to make that project denser than the zoning would otherwise allow. So there's nothing stopping someone who decides to conserve land from entering into an agreement with someone who wishes to develop land elsewhere, and there's absolutely the ability for money to change hands between those two parties as part of that. That's been true before. It will be true under the proposed change language. What I would say the changed language does, it opens up the opportunity to be able to conserve land anywhere in that ag rural district, as well as in areas that are identified for conservation in some of our more intense zoning districts, and to spend it anywhere where residential development is proposed. So it just makes it a little more open that those transactions can happen. There's more opportunity for them to happen. What we have not done, that some communities have done, is spend public money to conserve land and then say, because we spent that money, we have taken this number of dwellings out of circulation, and we are willing to sell them to somebody who wishes to develop them elsewhere. So people talk about that as the municipality being the banker, in the monopoly game, and holding those development rights and then moving them along. And Williston's not done that. Places where that's been successful have typically been really high growth counties in places like Maryland and Colorado and things like that. So we're not getting into the money game, but we're making it so more of those types of transactions can happen by making that change.
So this would be an incentive.
Yes. It would make it easier, not harder.
Right.
Hi, I'm Nao Ogilvy. I'm over at 38 Slate Barn Drive.
Sorry, but what's your name?
Nao Ogilvy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm gonna hopscotch your brain. We're gonna go back to the driveway thing. Sorry.
It's okay.
So the applicant, basically would have you believe that access has never been an issue for this piece of property, and I just, I think people like Emily and Matt put a lot of thought into what those distances need to be for fire trucks and, everything else to access. And I think a perfect example of why this is important is back on June 30th of 2020, there was a brush fire in that area exactly where those homes are, planned to be built. And the fire trucks couldn't get in there with their, non-problematic access that they have right now. And they drove through my property in order to access the back, quarter acre where they want to build the 2 single-family homes. So I would just ask that, they should be, they should be held to the standards that exist because they make sense, right? We need fire trucks to get in there, and yeah. So anyway, that's my spiel. Just send it maybe to the DRB as it was originally written before the addition that Emily had added.
Hi, my name's Kevin Brochu. I live at 76 Slate Barn Drive, and I'm here to support the table. I believe that the table will help without any changes to it. I think you might be aware, you might not be aware, but anything that goes, and Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but anything that goes to the DRB as a project, as a application, passes, okay? There has not been a project that has applied for a development that has not passed DRB. There was one, right, Walmart, but we still have a Walmart, don't we? So did it really? Right? And so it's the way it's set up. Like, these guys are doing their jobs. They know the bylaws. They know them frontwards and backwards, believe me, because I argued them. And we went to environmental court, and it all about, and you know, this is my opinion, right? It all balanced on an exception that was written in the bylaws. And wisely, the DRB, or the council from the town, brought it to the DRB with, here are your options, right? Well, it passed, okay, because that's what all of them pass, right? There hasn't been one. They get modified, they get changed, but they pass. So just beware that if you're putting an exception in the bylaw or some way that a developer can then go back to the DRB, they're always going to choose the easier route, and primarily because we do have developers on the committee, you know. It's well known, right? Scott Riley was the chair forever, and he did the huge development and stuff. And that's so anyway, the projects that get brought in there, they pass. So that was my first point, okay? So there's more weight to it. And what we didn't really discuss is what's at stake, right? And there was some testimony from neighbors and from the developer, but it didn't really talk about, like, what's at stake. What are we talking about? Why are we here, you know, as neighbors? I don't know that I'm the right person to be telling you that, because I haven't been to all the meetings. I honestly haven't detailed all the specific reviews in it. I don't know the bylaws. I used to know them, but I don't know them anymore. But I can tell you from being here, I hear similar objections that I had to the previous one, where fire trucks are going to have difficulty getting in there, you know? And to Naya's point, I was the one that called the fire department because there was a huge bonfire and was starting the maple trees on fire. So I remember that. And that's one of many. There's many issues with this. And I don't know if it's something that your team wanted to talk about to set the stage, or you want me to just kind of go through what I know and you can correct me as I go, or you can make statements after. Is that best? Yeah, okay. So, so we got the access by fire trucks. And then before we get too deep into the weeds, I want to just correct a few statements that have been made that I have some objection to. And, or I want to add some clarity to them. So the project is behind the Lampman House. Now, the Lampman House is a registered historical property. Additionally, there's Nao's house, who lives adjacent to it, that I don't know if his house is actually part of the historic registration, but I believe the barn is. The Slate Barn that's named after Slate Barn. And so the scenario that we're in is their property runs parallel to Slate Barn, okay? And the Pinter project is 2 units, okay? And I'm not sure how many bedrooms they have, and now there's a proposal for 2 more units. And then plus the house is 2 units. So actually, the driveway is accessing 6 units. So not 3 or 4, which was expressed earlier. Okay, so with that being said, here are some more, here are some issues. The water from the property, it's a little wet, okay? They had to put a lot of fill in, and all the houses have drains and such. And we have a stormwater pond. And the water from the property that's adjacent to us runs down their lot. It's a long lot. And then it hooks a left, and it goes across the Merrill's property, which is the corner lot. It goes over the sidewalk, and it goes into our stormwater. So we have essentially 2 additional units that are draining their stormwater into our stormwater. And our stormwater was not designed for additional stormwater. And I foresee in the future that we are going to be getting more stormwater. So my concern is with water, right? And those 2 houses are going to actually continue to shed water. And that water is going to go somewhere. It's either going to go down and into our stormwater and stress our stormwater more and add additional expenses and then roll over into the school, or I don't know, that's kind of where it ends up going. Or it's going to go forward and go into the historical house's basement and cause massive amounts of damage, I suspect, over years, and maybe cause that building to collapse. Or it'll go to the barn, or it'll go to my yard and I'll just have a swamp in my yard, like for half a year or whatever. So anyway, that's one issue, right? And so that's going to bring
Kevin,
controversy to the
you
table.
think if I gave you another 2 minutes, you could finish up? I mean,
Excuse me?
I'm wondering,
We have until, I need to just go over these problems. I feel like it's very important, and I'll go as fast as I can.
okay, it's just that we're here to talk about the zoning and the
yeah.
driveway, and you're talking about stormwater.
Yeah, because I'm trying to express to your committee what is at stake.
But we're not the DRB, we're the select board. I mean, but go ahead.
Excuse me,
Keep
I
going.
understand that, yeah. I mean, I've been in the town for like 20,
Yeah.
30 years,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And how many public comments have I been at?
Okay. Just,
I think I deserve 20 minutes.
no,
No.
no,
No?
no. I'll give you another 5.
Well, I don't need another 5. I'm just saying like total 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, and then the other concern is, that kind of threw me off track here. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you,
Okay.
you know.
Well, keep going.
Okay. So, the other issue is taxpayer costs, right? So, if our goal is to build more houses, that's great, I love it. I think we missed an opportunity with the Glacier project. I think they came in with 200 houses. Boom, we should have done that, but instead it went down to 170. I don't really, or 130, I don't really understand why we lost 70 houses, okay? So now you want to put 2 houses here, and clearly there's issues, right? There's issues with the water that's going into the sidewalk that the town's going to have to fix, that's going into the road that the town's going to fix, and that litigation is going to happen because this is a highly contested property, okay? So I covered pretty much, yeah, I mean, I think that's about it, and, yeah.
Okay, well, if you have other stuff, I can give you another minute or 2.
No, I think that's it. I was just kind of thrown off guard,
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Tim too, like, this is important, and you have to understand that the DRB will pass it if you guys
Yep.
allow them an out, so just be aware of that, okay? And then one other thing, parking, okay? As it stands now, on Slate Barn Drive, the real estate agency already uses our street for overflow parking. It seems to be like maybe they're having a, team meeting or something, or the roof is getting repaired on their house or something, but they're parking on our street already. And that has already upset some neighbors, and they all seem to come to me with their issues. And I'd like to say that I have talked to the neighbors in the neighborhood, and nobody is really happy about the water going into our stormwater, and nobody's happy about the fact that cars are parking, in front of the fire hydrant and such, on a street that shouldn't have parking. Which brings me to, what would be our best approach for not allowing for a controversy like that to happen down the road, where our street is getting used by other developments or other contractors as a place for them to park when they're hindering, driveways to get in and out? Is there a process that we could do that?
I don't know off the top of my head.
You don't know? Okay.
No,
Okay.
but,
Yeah. All right. Well, I can maybe, who would I talk to about that?
So contact our town manager, Eric.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. That's
Yeah,
it.
okay, thank you. Is there other public comment in the hearing for the zoning hearing? No?
I just want to make one clarification, if I can.
Yeah, super quick.
Yeah, the only thing is, the existing driveway, the reason the fire trucks have had a problem, is only 12 feet wide. So we're proposing to widen it to the required amount, just so that everyone's clear that the driveway is currently not that big.
What would the required amount be?
Could Emily, it's,
12 to 14, I believe.
It says 12 to 14.
yeah, but it's gonna be more because of the mixed-use building in the front. So we have a 25-foot easement, we're willing to widen it to 20 feet, which is the requirement. The issue is 4 feet on either side of clear space. So we would still have 2.5 feet on either side of clear space. So anyways,
And I just want to say that the additional 3 feet they need right now, we will not provide an easement for. That's
Okay.
my wife.
Fine.
Okay.
Let you know.
All right, thank you.
Ted, I have an online request for the public hearing.
Sure.
Jude, I'm going to connect you.
Are they connected?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Sorry, I don't have my camera on. I live at 7999 Williston Road. I do support the amendment. I can say that living on a mixed-use driveway is a burden. There's delivery trucks that block the ingress and egress. There's excessive parking on the side. So there is a need for a wider driveway for any additional development on this particular lot. I am curious, as we sort of look at the minutia up close of 25 feet to 28 feet, if there's any consideration to the number of two-lane driveways entering into Williston Road off of the intersection, so that if you keep adding large driveways, one right after the other, what that's going to do to the traffic. So in addition to just the driveway width, is it considered in relation to the driveways that are on either side? That's a question. And in this situation, about this development that this driveway change would impact is, it is a small stretch of 3 historic buildings where it is almost continuous, where there's just a, sort of an empty lot where the drive used to be on the side of Lampman House, and our driveway was very intentionally meant to be narrow and to save as many trees, that it's a unique grove of old trees, that widening the driveway would greatly impact. That would take out a lot of trees on either side of the driveway, even if MAP, exercises 25 feet, and which is part of the historic character, framing the historic buildings and cleaning the air right off of Williston Road. So I feel like we keep looking at these details so up close, but not seeing them in the context of what that's going to do to several driveways of that size, entering right after another, right after an intersection going into town. And anyway, so it's, when we are looking at these bylaws, it would be so helpful to know from the town what the larger vision is for the village development. Because we don't see this in the context of, well, yes, we see Williston as Venice, and that's why it's okay, and we'll all have boats, you know, like, or it's going to be like non-understanding these amendments in the context of a plan, a carefully considered plan for how the village will be developed. So anyway, I submit that just to say I do support the amendment as a person who lives on a driveway of mixed use that is incredibly burdened by the traffic that is already there with 3 housing units in a business, and would like to know from the select board or the town how this fits in to a town design or a town plan, or there's talk of interconnecting streets, but what streets are those referring to? How, you know, like, to understand this driveway amendment in a greater context. That's my only comment. If there were a time when those types of things could be communicated to the people who live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else online?
Nope.
Okay, anybody else in the room? No? Okay. Is there any final comment from staff?
I don't have any final comment. I said I was going to let Emily talk, and I didn't. I'm available to screen share the proposed amendment for the driveway or any other standard as you discuss it. Normally, procedurally, there's a point where you would close the public hearing, and then there's board discussion and potential vote. So we're here to support that as you need us.
Okay. I was just wondering if you had comments that would be part of the hearing before the select board takes it under advisement.
No.
The only thing I'll add, and just reminder for townwide context, in the village zoning district and the residential zoning district, so this isn't the entire town, in the village and the residential districts, up to 5 to 9 units can be served on a shared private driveway. So sometimes folks use the term road or street. In this context, we're talking about a private driveway. Right now, the bylaw is 12 to 16 feet in width. I think a couple folks accidentally said 14. It's 12 to 16 feet in width. We propose stratifying it from 12 to 18 feet in width with that maximum 20 feet to a driveway that is serving a mix of use, so residential and commercial. There is the requirement in the bylaw today for 4 feet clear on either side. It's not paving, it's just a little bit of clear zone so branches don't scrape your vehicle and you can pull over a little bit if you need to. It's 4 feet clear on either side today, and that's not proposed to be changed. The recommendation in the memo I included for you guys gives the DRB a very narrow pathway for infill and adaptive reuse in the village zoning district, where they could flex those standards within the table and reduce them if need be. So townwide, we're only talking about the driveway standard widths in the village and residential zoning districts, and then the recommendation for you guys to consider would be to amending that further where the DRB has some authority in the village zoning district. When we redrafted the village zoning district a couple of years ago, that bylaw standard does give the DRB more discretion and more leeway than they had previously, because it is a context sensitive district where you want uses to be compatible with the historic buildings, you want to preserve the historic tree-lined green belt, and you want to be sure that any new commercial or non-residential use is context sensitive. If the house is right next door, that's a lot different than if it's 100 yards away. So the village bylaw does give the DRB a lot of discretion and authority, and within limits, there are parameters, and this recommendation would be an extension of that by giving them some leeway over the driveway width.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Lee said that's only in the village district? I mean, this amendment change only applies to the village, not the amendment we're discussing.
Yes.
What was here, warned for tonight, only, the driveway only is in the village district?
Correct. So the version that was warned from the Planning Commission is village and RZD. What we're talking about tonight is only in the village zoning district, and it's only for infill and adaptive reuse. So if someone comes in on a vacant parcel and is developing from scratch, they would have to follow the driveway widths in that table. We're only talking about infill and adaptive reuse, which is, you know, in addition to an historic building, subdivision behind a historic building, that kind of thing.
So you know I have a real concern about the possibility of putting 4 units on a half-acre lot in some of our legacy, our older neighborhoods. I'm very concerned about what that looks like when this starts happening. This would not apply to lamplight.
The driveway width as it is proposed from the planning commission, so say you had a house in Lamplight that was gonna be converted from a single to a fourplex, they would have to increase their driveway width to meet that. But the DRB wouldn't have the discretion in Lamplight to pick a different number. Lamplight would have to follow the table.
That's what I was asking.
Okay. With that, there is a proposed motion to close the public hearing.
I'm on the wrong page. Come on, Greta, you have it.
All right, I'll move to close the hearing on proposed amendments for the Williston Unified Development Bylaw.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. That would bring us to the next item on the agenda, which would be the actual zoning bylaw amendment.
So our options are?
You have two pathways. You could adopt what's been transmitted by the Planning Commission for this hearing, or you could look to make a substantive change that was discussed this evening and then need to warn a new public hearing and receive feedback from the Planning Commission on that substantive change. What's being talked about is the driveway width table.
Questions and comments?
So going back to the plan, so if we choose not to vote yes as it stands, as it's presented, it automatically goes back to the planning commission, and they come back with a recommendation, is that?
They can provide comment, but ultimately it's your bylaw that you're warning. So if there's something here you want to change, you have to warn a new hearing as a substantive change, and the Planning Commission has that opportunity to provide their feedback on that. So you get to hear from them on it before you make a final decision.
I'm looking at me because I always talk. I, in general, am not super comfortable with, let the DRB decide. But I'm hearing from Emily that does happen with other things in the village, so that may not be setting a precedent or something. Generally, I do like consistency. I am also not a driveway expert, and I am not going to sit here and pretend that I know if 20 feet with plus or minus 3 foot sections or 20 feet plus or minus 8 is better. I do not know, so I'm going to leave that to somebody else. So if I kind of feel like this is it would be reasonable to take a step and send it back to the Planning Commission, get their feedback on how they feel about it, and it's worth it to me to spend another couple weeks thinking about it, I guess.
What is the recommendation from the Planning Commission is to amend it with the zoning exceptions, or is it to as presented?
So the recommendation from the Planning Commission is what was presented to you, because that's what they had a hearing on, and
Right.
that's what they transmitted to you. So I'm not commenting on the merits of the
Right.
proposed change, just
Yes.
saying that's what the Planning Commission sent to you.
Okay,
If you want to change it,
right.
you would make that motion to change it tonight. You don't just sort of instruct the Planning Commission, change this for us. You actually need to ask them to make a particular change.
Right.
And you're not really asking them to make it, I'm sorry. What you're doing is you're saying, we're going to change this.
Mm-hmm.
You have a meeting to spend to provide us with comments on the change we want to make. So.
Is there another potential option I'll throw out here? Could the select board continue this hearing and get feedback from the Planning Commission and then make a decision whether you want to rewarn us with a substantive change or adopt as originally transmitted?
I thought the statute required us to send it back to the Planning Commission for comment if we made substantive changes.
Yeah, if the substantive change happens here, the select board needs to hold another hearing, and the Planning Commission needs to weigh in on the change. Bylaw amendment can just completely stall out. I'm not recommending that. and you could send a message back to the planning commission, say, try again, hold another hearing, send us a new version. You could do that. That's not usually what we do when we get to this point. Usually there's, like this, there's some individual item that, if a majority of the select board says, we'd like to rewrite this so it's this way, that's what gets sent back to the planning commission for comment, correction of the bylaw report, and then your meeting proceeds at a subsequent hearing.
Did the planning commission have a discussion about making this a flexible?
No, they have not.
So it never came up?
No.
I think as a select board, we rely on the planning commission to, weigh in on these things, and they are, the commission that we go to for their, opinions and their advice and their recommendations. So I would like to know what they feel about this substantive change, but I don't necessarily know, I don't necessarily know that I want to direct them to make the change. I'm just not sure if it's the right change.
Well, we could, so I think I heard you say that you had one written that we could look at, right? Or maybe it was already read, but, so you could say, if there's a draft that says, this is what it would look like to change it.
Adding the statement to WDB 13.2.6.2, right?
I thought it was
that's
point 3, I
obvious.
was getting mixed up.
Come on. Not
So,
point 3.
so we would say, this is how it would work, I guess, question, we'd say, this is the change we would like to make, send it back to the planning commission, they could come back and say, that was a dumb idea, but if you want it, you can do it.
Yeah, I think you've held your hearing, you've closed your hearing, but, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, they don't have to take action on what's been proposed tonight. So it's kind of a pause point to get feedback about this matter from the planning commission. Then you can have an agenda, a potential action item on your next agenda. You can have that feedback shared, and then.
But if we make a substantive change, which adopting the language in Emily's memo would be, then the statute requires us to send it back to the planning commission for comment.
But we could take no action tonight, ask for their feedback, and then take action at the next meeting.
But if we take action at the next meeting with the amended statement, we have to send it back to the planning commission.
We still might, yes.
And then, so
Yes,
that kind of
yes.
delays things. We could
Yes.
just,
It would, but also, we might not have to send it back if the action that we decide is to proceed with it as is.
As is.
okay. So that's a two-step process. I'm okay with that.
It is. It takes longer, but.
Let's get it right.
Okay, well, democracy's messy. So it sounds like what we are going to do is we are going to not take any action on the proposed amendments at all tonight. We're going to send a message to the planning commission asking for their feedback on the driveway issue, and then we'd have to reconvene another hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so
Well, you could act, if you chose to make no change, you could act on what you heard tonight.
okay, yeah. So let's do it this way. My recommendation to the board would be that we send it back to the planning commission for their considered input. When we get that considered input back, if I'll call it the Emily's language, is not something that we are going to be in favor of, then we can vote on the bylaws as they were presented tonight.
Right.
If we do decide to adopt that based on planning commission input, then we would have to send it back to the planning commission.
Yes.
And they'd say, we already talked about this, but okay, you guys are cool. And then they're going to send it back to us, and then we'll have another hearing. And
three-step
Yeah, okay.
process.
Yeah, it's a three-step process, okay. So is that what the board's consensus is?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we need, I don't believe we need a motion.
No,
on
you
that.
provided direction to your advisory committee.
Can you be our vicar to the planning commission?
We'll communicate what you'd like them to address,
Yeah.
staff them through that discussion at their next meeting, and bring back their input as quickly as we can.
Okay.
They're meeting right now.
I was going to say, it would actually be 4 weeks, right? Because they'll meet concurrently with our next meeting anyway, so.
Unless I run next door at their next
I'd
meeting.
recommend against it.
You know, you can watch the chimney for white smoke.
We'll be here a while.
We could stack.
And kind of just for cleanup, I have no other concerns with anything else. So it's
Yeah.
not like this has not become a
Yeah.
six-step process. It's this one particular one.
Yes,
I like the white smoke idea.
I know.
Listen, Latin, have them
Pneumatic
zoning.
tubes.
Famous Zonum.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so that's
Thank you.
probably unsatisfying to people in the room, I apologize, but that we need to get more information, so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this is out of order, but is there any chance that we could skip ahead to the library, since that's probably not going to be a super long discussion?
Yeah. I think all these people are here for the
Yeah.
old creamery, though.
Yeah, but I mean, if
you-
it's a 5-minute discussion, Old Creamery's going to take a while.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, is that people on the board? Ellie, McHugh? we can-
Sorry, all my Old Creamery friends are going to be mad at me, but I think the library would be
Yeah,
quicker.
so we do have some trustees here who would like to speak, so it may take
Oh, my
a little bit
Oh,
longer
well,
than we
okay,
anticipated.
there you go. Okay, never mind.
so-
I strike my thing.
Sorry.
Okay, so
Sorry,
actually,
have a seat.
let's go in order as it was presented, though. So that would bring us next to the Old Creamery Road Traffic Calming Study.
I wouldn't have been mad at you.
I can kick this
Yeah,
off
please do.
briefly. So this is a continuation of the initial discussion the board had. The select board's going to see a presentation from our consulting team examining possible traffic calming approaches on Old Creamery Road. Some different strategies for speed management in this presentation. We'll look at potential phased approach. The consultant's seeking feedback from the select board and any public feedback that the board would like to entertain this evening as well. So I understand you need to finalize the report this spring. So it's Nicole, right?
It is Nicole.
I'll connect you so you can share your
Great.
presentation. You'll get an invite to become a panelist.
There are seats in here now if people want to come in.
I see John and
See
Carla
people-
out there.
People standing in the hallway.
It's the closest thing to a green room we have.
Switch to presentation. Okay. All right, so as mentioned, we're here to talk about the Old Creamery Road traffic study, looking at speed management strategies. Our project team working with us on this was Bruce Hoare, the Director of Public Works, Christine Doherty, Assistant Director Sai Sarapalli from the Chittenden County RPC. I'm Nicole Fox from Weston O'Neill, and this is the rest of our consultant team. So this is the project area, Old Creamery Road, running from Route 2A over to Oak Hill Road. So this is sort of a refresher from the last meeting, but at the request of the town, Chittenden County RPC initiated the study with Weston O'Neill to investigate speed management to create a safer roadway environment for all road users. Old Creamery Road is a Class 2 town highway, and it is functionally classified as a major collector. It's used as a connector between minor arterial, which is Vermont Route 2A, and a major collector, Oak Hill Road. And speeding on this road has been a common concern in the community. So tonight, we're going to review the project process. We're going to discuss the strategies we developed for traffic calming. We'd like to obviously gather feedback from the community on the phases we're proposing, and then seek support for either what we're proposing or something modified therein. So we kicked this project off last November. We were here for a meeting last December to gather feedback about what residents and the community's concerns are. We've been working on developing some phasing strategies. We're here tonight, and we plan to wrap up next month. So the posted speed limit on Old Creamery Road is 35 miles an hour. The 85th percentile speed is 45 miles an hour, which is obviously 10 miles over the posted speed limit. The 85th percentile speed is what we use. It means 85% of vehicles are going that speed or slower, but 15% of drivers are going faster than that. That's sort of our benchmark speed that we use to kind of determine what the prevailing speeds are. And that's quite a significant difference of 10 miles an hour. There's a little over 3,000 vehicles a day annualized on the road. However, between January 1st of 2019 and November of 2025, there were only 11 vehicular crashes. One of them was an injury crash. So in December when we were here, well, we also conducted an online survey, but also a lot of these concerns were repeated by the community members who came to the meeting. And those key concerns were speeding, poor visibility near hills and intersections, Sunset Hill Road and Route 2A were identified in particular, noise from speeding in traffic, the current state of the asphalt on the road was noted, aggressive passing, narrow and insufficient shoulders, and hazardous winter conditions. Some of those fall a bit outside the scope of what we're looking at, so we're not really proposing traffic calming by repaving the road, but those are certainly worth noting. And so we looked at sort of 3 implementation phases, some near-term improvements that can be implemented pretty quickly, potentially quite a bit of them even by just town staff. Phase 2 is a little bit more medium-term, maybe take a little longer to plan out and get the funding in order. And phase 3 are slightly more significant, more expensive. And really, we broke this out this way with the intent that, you can sort of run with the quick implementation, see how it goes. If that creates the results that folks are looking for, you don't really have to go any further, but you have, if it doesn't, then you have phase 2 ready to go. You can start planning for that. Implement that, see how it goes, and then if that's still not doing quite enough, then you can look more towards phase 3. So first, I'm just going to kind of run through the different, sort of our toolkit of what we are recommending. So painted edge lines, there are actually painted edge lines out there today. Our recommendation is actually to paint them a little closer in towards the middle, narrow those lanes up a little bit. That can be found to create some visual constriction, which helps to slow drivers. We're also recommending optical speed bars, and these are pavement markings. They're perpendicular to the lanes, and they are spaced further apart as you first approach them, and then as you proceed, they get closer and closer, which sort of gives drivers the perception that they are accelerating. So in theory, they will slow down and ease off. We are also recommending 2 permanent dynamic feedback signs. We are recommending the type that once you are exceeding the speed limit, tell you to slow down instead of telling you how fast you're going. These tend to eliminate the potential problem of having more reckless drivers try to see how fast they can get it to record, which is a bit counterproductive. So slow down takes the fun away from that. And then adding some intersection warning signs just to help people identify when they're coming up to a place where there may be vehicles and people entering. We do have some recommendations for some transverse rumble strips. These go all the way across the lanes. They produce noise for drivers to help identify that they should be slowing down. They do also create other noise outside the vehicle, so we are proposing to try to locate those where they're farther from residences. And then we are also including speed humps. Skunk Hollow Road in Jericho was mentioned quite a bit in some feedback we got both online, I believe, and in person. And so we actually did go out. We have some photos of other locations on Skunk Hollow Road, but they have not maintained their pavement markings very well. So we stole this image from Google back when they were a little bit fresher. So you can see what that would look like. And then a median splitter island. This is Skunk Hollow Road. And these are only included as part of phase 3. they divert traffic around, they create another visual impact. It really helps to create something that drivers need to pay attention to, which will help them slow. So this is phase one. As mentioned, phase one includes the dynamic speed feedback signs. It includes several locations of the optical speed bars, and it also includes the edge line markings that are shifted inward. It's estimated that this also, it's not noted on here, but it would also include the intersection warning signs. Oh, it's actually in one of the bubbles. So this would also include the intersection warning signs as well. So the estimated cost for this is about $100,000 to implement. A lot of this could potentially be done by staff from the town, which could potentially decrease the costs. So this is fairly low level of construction. Phase two. So again, if it's not felt like you're getting the results that you're hoping for out of phase one, the additional cost for this particular alternative is about $70,000 more. It retains the speed feedback signs and most of the optical speed bars, but it also adds 4 different locations for speed humps, as well as 2 locations for transverse rumble strips. The speed humps are located near some of the residential streets, whereas the rumble strips are actually located further away from the more thickly settled areas. And then phase 3, the real difference with phase 3 is that it includes 4 of those splitter islands to try to help create transition zones even more than some of the other items that we have. This is the most expensive element because you are widening the road because you still need to obviously maintain the same width of the road around the island. You have to install the curb and everything that goes with that. There is the potential that there may be minor right-of-way impacts, other things to consider. One nice thing about using a splitter island instead of some sort of chicane or other element that would be on the side of the road is because it's in the middle, you won't need to worry about adding any closed drainage system or anything like that. It would still just kind of flow off to the sides the way it does now. And so, yeah, the additional cost, the total cost for all 3 together is estimated to be $410,000, but the cost for just phase 3, if you've already implemented phase 2, is $240,000. We have a little evaluation matrix here to compare them. Obviously, phase 1 is the lowest cost, but it also is probably likely to have the least impact. Phase 2 falls right in the middle, and then it's of course the opposite for phase 3. Again, just simply because you do have to widen the road, that's where there's definitely potential to have some impacts to utilities if they're not placed with care. It's possible that there may not be any utility impacts at all. But again, anytime you're doing any widening and moving dirt around, it's possible you could have other impacts like wetlands or archaeological if you have an undisturbed area. And that's it.
Okay. Questions from the board? I'll start off. Is the idea that this is, well, I think it's kind of obvious, but this is a phased-in thing, so how do we know if each phase is working?
Well, what I would recommend is that once you have installed a phase, obviously I would give it a few months to kind of let things settle out. But at that point, you could likely work with the Planning Commission to have them do some speed measurements and see what the prevailing speeds are out there.
Right.
I don't really remember from the first one, does this study sort of assume it's a problem, an equivalent problem the entire length of the road? There was no data that said, wow, it's really bad coming off a 2A, or really bad coming off around the corners, or anything like that?
That was, it was assumed that it was pretty similar, the full length. I think that there is a greater concern from the community in the more densely populated areas. However, you know, you've got, there's a manufactured home park that's kind of located in an area that otherwise doesn't have as many residents. You know, and so managing speed throughout a corridor, and generally when you're looking at something that's described or thought of as a cut-through corridor, it tends to be really the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously you want to really focus where you've got residents, but if you have drivers who have sort of become accustomed to speeding on part of it, they'll keep going.
So you gauged the traffic, it's 3,000 cars a day was the number.
Yeah.
Was the pedestrian traffic gauged at all? I know there's not a lot of people
No.
walking on that road.
Although it's interesting that you say that. I did look at Strava Metro data, which I don't know if anyone's familiar with Strava. If you run or bike, you might record your exercise on your watch, and like all things, it's big data, and they repurpose it for other things. But one of the things they do is provide the data to folks like myself who work with active transportation, and I did look at heat maps, which I could actually pull up for you. I did look at the heat maps for Old Creamery Road. And so this is the biking activity. The colors, I didn't.
We're not seeing it.
Unfreeze it, I think.
Oh.
We have to share a different screen on your.
Yeah, let's stop sharing and reshare. Sorry about that. There we go. I just want to say I did not pick the colors, but purple is, and the darker the purple is, the more usage a road gets. And so you can see this is the biking activity. This is a pretty high biking activity corridor. There was a little bit of discrepancy. We got some comments before that said, no one bikes here, and other comments that said bikes are riding like 4 across and no one can get around them. So I imagine it's a timing thing. But yes, this is a pretty heavily used biking corridor. Much less so for pedestrians, although what I want to note about Strava data is that typically people who are walking their dog are not using Strava because no one wants to have a recording that says that you walked 1 mile in 2 hours. So this tends to be for runners more than anything else. And I will note that you must have a really lovely hiking trail right off of there, because when I compared them, I was like, why is that road missing from the bike one, and realized it's because it's a trail, that it's not a road. But there definitely are pedestrians, as you can see, who are using it. The roads almost like disappear to a green when there's no pedestrians, so orange is pretty low density, but certainly around Sunset Hill Road, there's pedestrians, and really more to the western side, and then I guess the edge over by Oak Hill Road as well. So there are pedestrians who are using it. I think largely from the feedback that we got, what I would say is people don't feel safe walking, which means that what you have is suppressed demand. If if you have some folks who are still doing it even though they feel unsafe, chances are very good if they felt safer, there would be more. So.
If no further questions from the board, I'd open it up to the people who are here for just, yeah.
I guess maybe, I mean, my only question would be for Bruce, really, you know, would be about, yeah. Would be, like, the scope of the phase one, I know we have, like, line striping or paint, you know, is that something that our Public Works could manage if we were to do the painting portion of it?
Guess it's not a
We
yes.
don't have the ability, to do long lines.
Okay,
So we can do the optical speed bars that they were talking about without any problem.
okay,
So anything like that we could do, but when it comes to long lines, that's all contracted out.
yeah. And I feel like I recall that's tough, right, to get people to do the painting?
There's only one painter in the state
Yeah.
of Vermont, and they get the state's contract, so they're fat, dumb, and happy.
Yeah,
But we put it out to bid, and we've been successful in getting companies from out of state to come in and do it. But it doesn't happen until a little bit later in the year.
right. Thank you.
So with that, I know we have a considerable number of people who are here to see this presentation. This is not actually a public hearing, but I would open the meeting up for, I would say, please, very brief comments or questions. And because we do have the library issues to get to tonight in the meeting, and we're behind schedule already. So if people do wish to make a brief comment or ask a brief question, you're more than welcome to do so. So is there, sure, why don't you? Thanks.
My name is Tim Walker. I live at 1259 Old Creamery. I was at the meeting in December. I said how I almost got hit by, cars trying to empty my mailbox. Well, this winter was real tough with the snow going up there. I had no room. I actually tried to slow somebody down just by doing a hand gesture. They floored it and came closer to me. The people driving that road don't care about us. They care about getting to work and getting home. I think the only thing that's going to make that road work and slow it down is speed bumps. All the other stuff is fine and dandy, but it's something that they're going to have to drive over to actually slow down or bottom their car out. I think it's simple. I think the town could do it, and it's done. It's not a $500,000 job. So that's how I feel, and thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Other? Okay.
I too just want to put a plug in for the speed bumps. And I went around Williston, and there's several of them in our community that work quite well. We got the Shunpike Road that connects Williston Road to Kimball Ave. I think that's South Burlington. But we got our Chamberlain Lane off of Isham Circle that goes into Brennan Woods. There's speed bumps there, and it really tempers you, from hitting that gas pedal. Skunk Hollow Road, they did a beautiful job there. And Zephyr Road has speed bumps. And I think they work quite well. And I'm fully confident we're going to get this right. And it's just going to be a win-win for everybody. And may I just, I didn't always hear correctly, I just want to comment on the Phase 2 map where there's 3 red dots. Painted edge markings should be added. Oh, I thought they were speed bump locations. You did put in there the speed bumps, and was it Phase 3? Phase 2. And just in closing, I lived for the past 30 years between Oak Knoll and Nob Hill. And my view is a beautiful view. I can see it, Sunset Hill. It's a great view. So I just see the pedestrians, the bikers, the baby carriages. We got professional racers out working out on that road. I've seen skiers, It's wonderful, and dog walkers, and they're all funneling into Sunset Road, Sunset Hill. And those warning yellow markers, intersection upcoming warning, beautiful. I wouldn't even mind seeing something else alert, because so much of that pedestrian, they're all feeding into Sunset Hill, another sign. I don't know, this might be going over the top, but something like a pedestrian or children, bikers, share the road, something like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, in the back, you had your hand up first, sorry, and then I'll.
Good evening. My name's Emily Degree, and I live on Oak Hill Road. And I know it's not Old Creamery, but to your point, sir, I'm really sorry your mailbox incident happened. I've been there myself, and no, sorry, I was the person getting my mail. But as many of you know, Oak Hill Road is an even flatter, straighter, longer stretch of road. And there are people who do want to get home and do want to get to work. And I understand. There's no one coming in the oncoming lane, and they don't move over. But it does seem to me that Oak Hill Road is a more reasonable road to be pushing your kid in a stroller, to be walking your dog. You're visible from a long ways out. Old Creamery Road is not the road for those activities. And I'm sorry, I really wish everyone had a bike path, everyone had a sidewalk, but there are many dirt roads off of Old Creamery for those activities that are much, much safer. And I know it sucks that there's a few bad apples, high school students trying not to be late for the 5th time this week. Like someone who's trying to hold on to their job. I've been there. I've been passed on Old Creamery. I understand, but my major point is that it is terrifying as the driver trying to get to work, who is going the speed limit, maybe 5 over, because of the hill coming off of 2A, that it is terrifying to see someone walking their dog, especially early in the morning, especially in the evening. It's you just don't expect to see it because it is a narrow road. It is a hilly road. It's not built for that. It's built to get you from Oak Hill Road to 2A. And unfortunately, it's not a dirt road. So people use it as a vehicle road. So I just want to say that I understand the plight and the struggle of the people who live on it, but I just think maybe, I don't know the difference in cost between a sidewalk or a path on the side of it would be maybe not $400 and almost $50,000. I don't know what's a better solution. But yeah, I just think it caused a lot of damage to a lot of cars, and yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. So I'm Lynn McClintock. I don't live on Old Creamery Road, but I live off of Old Creamery Road, off of Sunset Hill. So first of all, Nicole, thank you for all your work. Appreciate it. I have a thought for phase 1, which would be a lot cheaper. A lot of people wouldn't like it, but it is a thought because where Jackie lives, coming right down by Sunset Hill, that little hump right before Sunset Hill is very difficult to take a left-hand turn off of Sunset Hill without, I've had to back up several times because I was afraid I was gonna get hit, but I didn't get hit. But what if there was a 3-way stop right there? If you put a stop sign on Sunset Hill and one on either side of Sunset Hill on Old Creamery Road, it's kind of almost in the middle. You have a chance to get going pretty fast down the hill from 2A, but you'd have to stop. And coming down the other way, it would make it safer coming off of Sunset Hill. Now, I'm not just saying it for me getting off of Sunset Hill, but I think it'd be maybe a cheaper way of calming people down or getting them more angry, but ultimately slowing people down. Now, initially, and I did say something to Nicole about this, you'd probably have to have a warning that there's a stop coming up. But once you've trained them, all of us, it might be a way of slowing people down a little bit cheaper. Just a thought. Just a thought. But thank you for your work. I hate I hate the calming things because I hate them for the plows, I hate them for my car, I just hate them. But it's not just me. I'm the minority on that. But I appreciate all your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dan Boomhauer, 4545 St. George Road. In the late 1990s, Williston law enforcement was done with 5 part-time employees. It may not have been perfect, but it was cost-effective. We now proudly support, I think, around 20 full-time law enforcement. Yes, Old Creamery Road could use some double lines and double lines down the middle. We could paint the edges a little bit better, perhaps even a sign before Old Sunset Hill Road, or maybe even a stop sign. But regarding speeding by our neighbors, to me it seems the most cost-effective, common-sense solution would be to have our law enforcement officers start giving out speeding tickets. And we are already paying them, we already have the cruisers, and we already have detectives to represent the town if tickets are contested. Another reason for more police traffic control on Old Creamery Road is because the state plans to replace 5 culverts on St. George Road this season. The culverts will be south of Old Creamery Road on St. George. I think we're going to expect to have more people using Old Creamery Road as a cutoff to Oak Hill than we've had before. And I like the idea of taking things step by step and then evaluating to see where we go. But something may need to happen, but I think we could use our own law enforcement as a first step and see if that actually helps. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a great walker. It's my sport. I don't bike. I don't do any of that. I walk. And I love it.
Ma'am, can I ask you to identify yourself?
Oh, my name is Roberta Tracy. I live at 4545 St. George Road. And I would never even dream of walking on Old Creamery Road. And my question is, I hear the talk of putting in sidewalks. What does that mean for zoning on that south of the interstate? Does that mean we have to rezone from rural to residential? Would that open the area up for further development? That's a concern.
I don't believe they're linked.
Yeah.
They're not linked.
Yeah.
I also tell you that it would be 4 times this expense to put in sidewalks. So
Not way more.
people should not be thinking there's a sidewalk going in on that road.
Exponentially more expensive.
Yes.
I just want to put it out there.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody who is not,
Seems we have public works here tonight. How do the speed bumps and those things affect winter maintenance on the road? And is it going to be more problems with snow building up around? I don't quite know how they function in the winter.
I should have done this, gotten out of here earlier, too. No. Speed bumps. The only effect they have on winter maintenance is not a whole lot. Trucks shouldn't be going that fast to start with. They're not supposed to be going over 25 miles an hour, 30 at the very most. When they're plowing snow, the range is 20 mile an hour, especially when you're putting salt down. So it's not Public Works that you'll hear complaints about from speed humps. But there's another department that will tell you they don't want speed humps, and I won't speak for them, so.
okay, thank you. We do need to wrap up, folks, so is there anybody who has not spoken yet? That okay.
I have a couple online, too.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dawn Schneiderman, and I live on Oak Hill Road, just around from Old Creamery. And as the young person said over here, it says, you know, it's a busy road. I would never walk on Oak Hill Road. I would never walk on Sunset Hill, or on Old Creamery Road. I do regularly walk Sunset Hill and all of the wonderful paths that we have there. I guess I feel that it isn't really a road that's designed for walking, and many people who drive that road every day will be quite inconvenienced. It's just really difficult driving over speed bumps regularly, particularly on a cut-through road that we have a lot of traffic on. And I guess I just wonder if it's a problem that needs to be solved. I mean, I guess I just don't really feel like it's a road for walking. And so trying to calm traffic for walkers and expending a lot of money and time and effort, I guess it just sort of feels to me like we're trying to solve a problem that really is more maybe people have to change their behavior on the walking side and take advantage of the many beautiful walking areas around there, as opposed to trying to walk on a very busy road that is dangerous. I would completely agree that trying to walk on Old Creamery Road would be quite dangerous. So anyway, that's how I feel.
Thank you. So if we can go to the people online.
Online folks can go Alice, then Carol, then Denise. I'll just have to unmute you one by one. So Alice, I'm gonna unmute you right now.
It's actually Kevin Batson.
Oh.
And Williston, Sundown Drive, 312 Sundown Drive. I do like, or I have in the past, liked to cycle Old Creamery, sometimes to visit friends. So, I mean, I think cyclists should have access to roads and not be banned. I would recommend, I think that there is a lot of bike traffic, you know, as we've seen from the Strava, and rumble across the road, rumble strips is a ridiculous idea for if you want to have any cyclists at all. It's just not good. And I think that 4-foot pedestrian passing signs, so like what was done near the village on Oak Hill Road, those signs could alert people that when there's a pedestrian, someone getting their mailbox, you're able to cross the yellow line and give clearance. And the law is for Vermont is 4-foot passing. And road conditions are so bad up there that I canceled a ride that the Green Mountain Bike Club has been doing for decades that goes through there. I canceled it because of the road conditions. It's not. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. There's one other.
Carol, I'm going to connect you.
Hi, I'm Carol Colombo. I live over in the Seth Circle area of the condos. I have a couple questions. I think I saw information somewhere where there were 11 accidents on, Old Creamery Road. Am I correct in seeing that?
Yep.
11 accidents and 1 injury?
I think so, yeah.
And so if I look at that statistic, I'm thinking, so out of all that speeding, that is the result of all that, of the speeding that is being reported. So I just want to kind of mark that. I agree with the people who have said that neither of those roads are walkable roads. You'd have to make it wider to have it be anything walkable, and then we'd probably do it more for bikes than that. I do want to bring up the Oak Hill Road because I am in a place in my life where I do some volunteer work, and I know that there are a lot of people who are speeding 80 or more miles an hour and getting tickets for that. And so I in my mind, I would look at that a little bit more closely. And the other thing is, and this is maybe a brain dead question, but is there the ability to take snapshots of somebody as if they're going by something that says speed limit, slow down, whatever that sign was? I mean, I'm sure there is the ability, if that would be affordable, so that people would actually be tagged, their license plate would be tagged as they went through. So those are all the questions I have at this time, or comments.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we do need to move on with our agenda.
I had one more online.
Okay, all right, last one.
Yeah. Denise, I'll connect you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
This isn't Denise. This is Peter Brooks and Nancy Brooks on Lyman Drive, not exactly on Old Creamery, but very close. So just a couple things. It's great that you folks have come up with some concrete recommendations. Was there a thought to dropping the speed limit to 30 instead of 35? And I don't really believe that by itself would have a huge effect, but I could see it as being part of the approaches we take. Secondly, I'd like to just mention that I think this is a wonderful procedure because by sharing our experiences, I think we better recognize how terrible this situation is on Old Creamery Road. And in that vein, I would say rather than have a three-step approach to this, since step 2, as proposed, is actually less expensive than step 1, I would like to see us give a more serious commitment to these efforts. I'd like to see us give a clearer signal to drivers that things have changed and your behavior is not going to be tolerated. So I would recommend that we go into both 1 and 2 from the get-go and see if it changes things in the way that we desire. And just a quick shout out to Lynn McClintock. I think that's a very interesting and clever idea to put a three-way stop at the intersection of Sunset. I think that is a clear indicator to people that this isn't so much a thoroughfare anymore. This is a place with cars entering, and you should be slowing down and paying attention to things.
Police.
And my wife, Nancy, would like to say that she thinks an increased police presence is very much called for here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your input.
Can I just ask Nicole to follow up? Quick question for Nicole.
Super quick, yeah.
Super quick. Nicole, did the consideration of a three-way stop, would that come in, or is that effective?
So we did discuss it. It is something we could re-examine. Our initial thought was that it would probably be very unpopular. However, I will note that there have been a lot of studies, and this is related to high crash locations, which is not what we have here, but that all-way stops have been shown to be fairly effective at reducing crashes. They're not really used. Stops are not generally recommended for traffic calming because there has a tendency for drivers to feel like they need to make up time. However, that's honestly true about all traffic calming measures. So if the town is interested in us looking at a three-way stop, that is something that we can consider. So it's really up to you.
Since we're not making any decisions tonight, could we ask them to throw that into the mix? And then
Sure.
have this other discussion?
We've confronted stop signs before at Blair Park Circle, and we actually had to take one out because it was used just to control speeding, and they're not supposed to be used to control speeding.
Correct.
So,
but
I don't know.
I've had to make a left out of Sunset. It's scary.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. If you can put that on your offer. But we do need to move on, folks. We were supposed to be. We're well over an hour behind in our meeting. So we are going to move on. But thank you all for your input. It was valuable and it is appreciated.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
So that would bring us to the library and village green bond reconsideration. So, Eric, is somebody going to be doing an introduction? Are you going to do it? Okay. All right.
You want to give me a...
Yeah.
Give him a minute. Okay, so Eric, why don't you go ahead?
Yep. So I'll kick this agenda item off. March 30th, the town clerk received, and on March 31st, confirmed the submission of a ballot petition signed by 5% of registered voters in town to request reconsideration of a town meeting day vote on Article 6, held this past March 3rd, where the sale of bonds for the library and Village Green project was authorized. Under state law, if a petition requesting reconsideration of this nature of a question voted on at a previous annual or special town meeting is filed with the clerk within 30 days following the date of that meeting, the select board shall call a town-wide meeting to vote on the matter raised in the petition within 60 days of its submission. So the special town meeting will be required to have the single article to consider following all the legal parameters required. These will include early voting available 20 days prior to that special town meeting, an absentee ballot sent to everyone who requested one for town meeting day, that's approximately 650 registered voters, and holding a public information hearing prior to the special town meeting. With that 60-day window the select board has to consider, the date of that special town meeting must be scheduled by May 29th of this year. The article will appear on the ballot asking voters to reconsider the result from town meeting day. An important element to this is what is being asked is to reconsider the outcome from the original vote. So a yes vote at the special town meeting supports reconsideration of Article 6 that would overturn the original result, reconsider it, and reject the authorization to issue a bond for the library and Village Green project. A no vote at the special town meeting would defeat the reconsideration of Article 6 that would authorize the town to proceed with issuance of the bond as approved at town meeting. Nothing would change from the original approval from March the 3rd. So for the select board to consider this evening is to set the date for that special town meeting that you're obligated by statute to do. This would then follow all the parameters for warning a town meeting. We would need to post it 30 to 40 days prior to the meeting date. Staff is suggesting a date of Tuesday, May 19th for that special town meeting. It would be held as we do at the Armory for Australian ballot voting from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The day before, on Monday, May 18th, at the Williston Central School Auditorium, we would hold a public information hearing. Both of those locations are available for those dates, and we've tentatively reserved them pending your discussion this evening and consideration of your warning. I'll say I've been working with our library director, Kevin Unrath. We've been planning a series of public drop-in sessions to discuss the project over the next month. We've done updates to the website, FAQs this week, with information that we've received from the community over the past several weeks. We'll continue to update the FAQ document as we receive more questions. We're certainly available to answer questions from the community leading up to that vote and early voting coming up here. We'll do some outreach too of the FAQs over the next couple of weeks as well. We certainly want folks to understand the project, its scope, the financial aspects of it, and make sure all their questions are answered leading up to their consideration at this special town meeting. So I'll pause there, just procedurally for the board tonight. You've received the draft warning, which encompasses that, reviewed by the town attorney, and you've also received the ballot form prepared by the town attorney for your consideration for action items this evening.
Yeah, thank you. So, again, this is a procedural agenda item more than anything, and I do want to open up to the board for questions or comments. But are the library folks or the trustees, do you want to make a statement? Okay.
I am Charity Clark. I'm the chair of the Dorothy Alling Memorial Library Board of Trustees. There are other board members here tonight, also members of the scoping study and the design committee who have been working, in addition to our volunteer architect, who is the architect who initially helped us with this project and then retired but lives in Williston. We are all here tonight, obviously, because of the turn of events after the town meeting day vote. I wish to read a statement that the trustees have put together. As a reminder, the Board of Trustees is an elected membership, an exclusive club where all the voters of Williston decide that we will be the stewards of the library. There are 7 of us. We are elected to 5-year terms. I believe that our oldest serving member has been on the board for 30 years, or maybe more. So we love the library, and we love Williston. So I will read this. Thank you for indulging me. The revote on the library and Village Green bond is an opportunity for all of us in Williston to dig deep and decide what we want from our library. Last year, we, the trustees of the Dorothy Alling Memorial Library, presented to the town a proposal for an expansion and renovation of the library 28 years after the last wing was added. Voters on town meeting day approved a bond to pay for the cost not covered by donations. Now some voters who do not favor the bond have petitioned for a revote. As the elected stewards of our treasured library, we wish to share with you our reasons for presenting the proposed project. A scoping study was conducted, including extensive surveying and communications with Williston residents, to ensure the project was wanted and tailored to the needs of the town. The community was clear that it wanted more community room space. This community space is incorporated into the project. Since the last wing was added 28 years ago, Williston's population has grown by 50%. We have unquestionably outgrown the library. Many families' after-school care plan involves the library, including my own. That is why the trustees fought hard to ensure the location of the library next door to the Williston Central School did not change. This also provided considerable savings as new land did not need to be purchased. Our library ranks first or second in usage in several categories, but 8 or 10 in terms of space provided. The internet era, with the ebooks and more recently AI-generated content it brings, has not reduced the demand for public libraries. In fact, more people than ever are using libraries to connect in person, read books in their chosen format, and find reliable information and help with technology. In contrast to misinformation we have heard, we assure you there will be no marble staircases or gold-plated fixtures. The cost per square foot estimated for this project is the going rate. We are committed to fundraising as much as possible to reduce the overall budget. The proposed expansion, renovation, and Village Green improvements that were approved on town meeting day reflect the survey of the town and the collaboration of a committee working to meet the requests of the town. We believe this project was designed to meet the needs of Williston while balancing the burden on taxpayers. Each of us will be voting no on, I hope, May 19th, because that's what I wrote here, to preserve the library project. And that is a statement that we prepared, we the trustees of the Dorothy Alling Memorial Library. Thank you.
Thank you. So does anybody else wish to make a brief comment? Going once? Okay, sure.
Is it this chair?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Cindy Roy, and I live on Ledgewood Drive. I'm here because I love our quaint, historical, and welcoming library. I regularly use the library, I use the meeting rooms. I just think it's the cutest thing I've ever seen, and our child went up through the whole school system in Williston. After speaking with hundreds of petition signers, here's what they had to say. Williston residents want library options to reduce the cost and size, not eliminate the project. They need options that are affordable for community use, village historical style, vote, and basically they were going to vote yes on the revote for new ideas. The vote was close, it was not decisive, there was low turnout. There was no choice, it was either a $14 million project, there was no other option, and that was a big consideration in signing the petition. They want options. It's like when you go to buy a car at the car lot and you're offered one car and it's the most expensive luxury car. What about all the other cars on the lot? They want choices. They do not want such a large expansion at a high price tag. They want to reconsider the project to do something on a smaller scale that's designed to fit the Williston Village. It's historical, it's welcoming, and it's quaint. And that's what we love about our village. And they were very concerned about that. The look is just not what they wanted to see. It's very different. And the law allows it. We surpassed the minimum requirement on signatures. So I'll be voting yes, as well as petition signers, and we had many, many of them, obviously enough for a revote. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. With that, I would like to turn it over to discuss the procedural issue that's before us. That's the date and the warning. So,
Not a whole lot of choices, given it's squeezed in, so I think the date is fine.
okay.
And my understanding is that we don't really have much of a choice on the warning. This whole confusing, you vote no if you want the library to continue, you vote yes if you don't want. That's legally, we have to word it that way because what we're voting on is reconsideration.
Correct.
And I do think we did hear some feedback, some folks asking why we can't include it, in the August primary or November elections. And obviously, as Eric stated, we legally have to do it within this, and so that is why we are incurring an additional $4,000 cost to run the special election. So I will note that. But yeah, timing-wise, I don't see we have a choice.
Yeah. Other comments? Yeah, I agree. The actual wording of the article is, I think, going to be one of the most confusing things that we've ever put on a ballot. Where if I'm, as people probably know, I'm a lawyer, and if I may brag, I'm not bad. But I had.
And humble.
Yeah, well, I'm working on the humility. But I read this and thought, boy, I would be befuddled for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then basically just, as my father, who was a lawyer, said one time, you say Hail Mary and make a decision. This is going to be, I think we really need to get the word out as to what yes means and what no means, because otherwise that's going to be a controversy that we could have avoided. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. So with that, is there further discussion by the board? If not, there's a proposed motion.
I move to approve the warning for a special town meeting to reconsider Article 6 on May 19th, 2026.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There are no nays. The motion carries. It is done. So, okay.
You do have a ballot form. I
Yes.
can take a formality to approve the ballot form too.
Yeah, perhaps we should have a motion to approve the ballot form. So,
We'll move to approve the ballot form.
is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion?
I hate it, but we have to say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like near the bubble, it's like, should it just say like yes and no actually by bubble?
I can check.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Oh, I see, yeah. Like, put it right there, next to the bubble, to make it much more clear. As clear as it can be, given the, yeah.
Yeah, don't flip.
I agree, just
Okay.
visually.
So I don't think that would be required. We wouldn't need
not a
that.
substantive
No,
change.
That's not
we'll
substantive.
see what the machine can do that makes these things.
Okay, with that comment, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There are no nays. The motion carries. It is passed. So,
I tried to move you guys up, but Greta wouldn't have it. Brilliant idea, Lynn. Take it easy on that corner.
So that would bring us to the next agenda item, the recap and status report of the select board goals.
Yeah, so I won't go through all of these. The hour's late, but I'll certainly, whatever questions.
Maybe just wait a second, yeah. Thank you, Dan. Well, you could stay as our bouncer. You just hook them out.
Don't want it, vote yes underneath all the legalese.
Can't do it.
You can't do it?
No.
No.
I'll call you, maybe we can find a way to get public to help make the message clear. I don't know.
We'll be out there with it quite a bit. Yeah, so this was requested by the board as you're preparing for your business year goal setting coming up in early May. So what we've done is taken, Assistant Town Manager Aaron Dickinson and I went through this list, and we worked to add a column with an April 2026 status update. So each one here, this is what was adopted by the Select Board last April. So it has a status update for each item, just where that stands from this list, with a hope that that can help the discussion that you have in May at your request. We are looking to have that on May 5th. I've got the facilitator lined up. I'm going to meet with him coming up this week. But I can get into those logistics as we discuss here. But for this work item, if there's any questions for the board or any further information you'd like for May 5th, please let me know.
Okay. Questions and comments from the board?
No, this was really helpful, and it does bring up a lot of things we'd move forward with, which is great. So, I mean, I guess some of them, you know, do we really need things that are in process? You know, this is kind of, this was our second attempt on a work plan, maybe it's
second, I think.
Yeah,
evolve it a little bit every year.
But no, I think it's a good start, and it was an interesting conversation to have to put this together. So look forward to it.
And Aaron and I felt the same way last year. This is an extensive list, so
yes.
There's always no way you're going to get everything done each year, but maybe you can move the ball a little bit and maybe move it more for the board's priorities in that coming year. Like we, you know, really good work to get that permit in place for the communications tower by the team Aaron led, and you know, working with this library project as well and other larger items. And there's a number of policy and ordinance items to be working on too. But yep, so that's the update on that piece of the board's request. And I think leading up to that May 5th discussion at the staff level, we'll pull together some items as well that's on our radar, and probably provide some resources with the town plan, with those top 20 identified town plan goals to be available for the board for that discussion as well. Yeah.
Great.
If there's anything else the board needs for that, please let me know.
And you're proposing a 6 p.m. start time. I just want to highlight that so we can all put it on our calendars.
Yeah, just seeing what's available for the board. I'm
Yeah.
thinking if you do that as kind of a mini retreat before
Yeah.
your regular agenda that night, I'm thinking maybe an hour or so is appropriate for the discussion. So maybe a 6 or 6:30 start time. Just your preference and your availability. We'll make it happen.
Works for my schedule, but
Yeah, 6:30 is better if you are not, if the rest of the agenda, if we could carve out an hour for this, that'd be great. If you can fit it in, 6:30, that's better than 6 for me, but I could do 6 if we had to.
6?
6 works for me. But.
6 works for me, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, Jean.
No, I mean, if we have nothing else on the agenda, so we're getting done at 8, I would prefer to
Yeah.
do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing further on that, that would bring us to manager's report.
Oh, license renewals.
That's after manager's report.
Oh, I put them out of order. Okay.
Is it?
I can do managers. We'll follow these.
No, it's not. It's 10. No, it's
I realized
number
after I
10.
posted it, I messed it up.
Oh, you know what? I have the rough draft.
Oh.
All right.
I'm
Well, we're
looking.
lucky I hadn't made any other mistakes before this then. Okay, the liquor tobacco license renewals.
Yeah, so this is an item for the board each year. Included the agenda is a listing of liquor and tobacco license renewals prepared by Town Clerk Sarah Mason for consideration. In this capacity, you act as a local liquor and tobacco control board. So to summarize the categories of these, a first-class license allows restaurants, hotels, and bars to serve beer, wine, and ready-to-drink spirits for consumption on premises. A second-class license permits retail stores, convenience stores, and grocery stores to sell beer, wine, and ready-to-drink spirits for consumption off premises. A third-class license is required for selling spirits for on-premise consumption. That's typically held by restaurants or bars in conjunction with a first-class license, but not always. Outdoor consumption, that's allowing consumption outdoors for establishments within delineated areas of those establishments. We see those tagged on the first-class licenses, primarily for restaurants and hotels at times.
I'm sorry, say the third class one again. That's the one I asked you the question about and I didn't hear the answer.
Yep. If you're going to sell spirits, like a mixed drink, you need a third class license. The first class license won't cover it. Just wine and beer for the first class.
Oh, wow, okay.
Or ready to drink spirits, you know, kind of like a, I don't know what they.
Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah, White Claw.
Mix a margarita you open in a can.
Those.
Yeah, okay.
So this is renewed each year. This used to be on an April 30th to May 1st year, but this changed a couple years ago. The renewal cycles for these are on the date they were first approved. So we have this large batch right now because these establishments have been here for a while. We're on that May 30th or April 30th to May 1st cycle. Acting as the local liquor and tobacco control board, all licenses need to be approved here first, or renewals in this case. They then go on to the state of Vermont Department of Liquor Control for the state's approval. If there was a violation throughout the approval year, like sale to an underage patron, the town would be notified by the state of that violation. I would share that with the board. There have been no such violations in the past year. The breakdown overall of these licenses are 16 first-class licenses with 10 outdoor consumption permits tagged on to a number of those, 11 second-class licenses, 10 third-class licenses, 6 tobacco, and 5 tobacco substitute endorsement as well.
Move to approve liquor and tobacco license renewals as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion on the motion? I didn't know Goodwater Brewery is closed.
Yeah.
I have no emotional feeling one way or the other about it. Just didn't know. So, okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 There are no nays, the motion carries. That would now bring us to manager's report.
So I'll highlight just a few things from my written report. Thanks to our finance staff, we caught up. I distributed the through Q2 year-to-date financials to the board. Looking at that, Shirley's online this evening. So we're at 51% of expenses through Q2, so that was around track. Staff's working on the through January report for your next meeting, as we just wrapped up Q3. I didn't want to call out while Bruce was here earlier, but I don't know if you want that, but just to publicly announce, Bruce has announced his retirement as Public Works Director. He'll be wrapping up at the end of July, and he's served the town very well over his 16 years as director, and what's a very demanding and difficult position in our leadership team. We're launching a national search for the next Public Works Director, planned to begin this spring. And an update on our police chief hiring process. We're wrapping up some pre-work with our consultant. We are hoping to post the ad for that position this week. Chief Foley will be retiring in the first half of July. Another piece, we've combined the town fair and the energy fair for an event on Green Up Day. We'll have the tent and the table out there. I will be there. I think Aaron will be there too. If any select board members are interested in engaging with the public, joining that day, just let me know. I can figure out logistics if you want to do shifts, or if everyone wants to come the whole time, that's fine too. So just don't discuss and make any decisions on it. So let me know about that. And then, as I mentioned, we went through the meeting schedule here for the earlier start time on May 5th. The reconsideration vote has now been set for May 19th. You have a select board meeting scheduled that night. Anticipate the board will be assisting with that, as the Board of Civil Authority as well.
I don't know, Eric, it's, maybe we start at 7:30, but that's going to be a one and done thing. I think that, I'm not sure we're not going to be tallying write-in votes or anything. I don't know that we need to.
But yeah, up to you. If you want to meet that night, if you want to cancel, or if you want to schedule Wednesday that week. There's busy agendas throughout July right now.
Yeah.
We just said
I
we
would be in
couldn't
favor
carve
of just keeping the meeting on the 19th, in all honesty.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, let's.
Rather than trying to find another
Let's
day.
do it. Sure. Okay, keep it.
Do you want to delay the start a little bit to after the polls close, or start?
Maybe just make sure Sarah doesn't need to be here.
We can start at 7:15.
Yeah.
And then, wait till the polls close and we can get
see
back
what
over
the
here.
outcome of the special.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's all I have this evening.
Okay. So that would bring us to final thoughts on items from this meeting. Are there final thoughts on any items that we discussed during this meeting?
Did you want to talk about a meeting on the 30th of June? That's the last on your...
Thanks, Sally. I forgot that. Another scheduling item. We are preparing to, with our TIF feasibility study, looking to have a comprehensive overview with the select board of that study and also talking about wastewater. It's a topic for a special meeting. It'll take a couple hours to really go through in depth with some consultants as well. Looking at June 30th as a potential option. If that doesn't line up, that's okay. That's a 5th Tuesday that month. We are also, no matter what, the board will need to have at least a brief special meeting to set the tax rate, because your second meeting in June is on the 16th and the grand list won't be quite finalized by then. Your first meeting in July is July 7th, and we need to send everything to the printer by July 6th. So, the sweet spot for that, the sweet spot needs to be
Sounds
somewhere.
like a great day to me, June 30th.
The last day of the year. The fiscal year.
It works for me, assuming there's no flight delays the day before. I said, I put it out there, it was my fault, I put it out there, it's so far away.
Well, it works for me regardless. I'm not going to be in The 30th works.
Okay.
That's fine.
I will book that for now, and I anticipate we'll.
That bonus Tuesday meeting, Tuesday night is really nice though. Like last month, we was 5 Tuesdays, you only have 2 meetings. That was pretty nice.
There are more months like that.
Thanks for catching that.
Okay. Any other last thoughts?
We do have a couple catering permits.
Oh, okay. Other business?
Yeah, 2 catering permits for the board to consider. One is Four Corners Brewing will be at Healthy Living on the 24th of April with a manufacturer's special event. Let's see, they'll be there from whatever 1900 hours is, so late afternoon, early evening that day. These are typical. We'll have these kind of exhibitions with samples, and the store's done that before, so staff has no concerns.
Okay. Questions for Eric? Any motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second? Any second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And the second is a retirement party at New England Air on Krupp Drive with the catering by Bevo on June 19th with approximately 50 people to attend. Looks like a private retirement party. They need the catering permit. There's no concern by staff.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 That's it.
Okay, so I think that does bring us to the end. So with that, I will declare that we are adjourned.